more or less at the last moment, we set about a new format for the tour. We thought that since in 1981 the tour cost close on £30,000, and this year with inflation, obviously it was going to be greater if we did the same thing, and we had to set about raising that sort of money. There was little hope of finding one sponsor with a sufficiently big market to justify that sort of expenditure, and consequently we thought that a lot of little bits would be equally good. So we set about finding sponsors for teams, which were the obvious vehicle for sponsorship. A number of national names, you know them all, are on the line with their teams of 6. Of course, every sponsor hopes to win, and there can only be one winner, but we did the best we could in that we put the 12 leading riders, seeded as it were, on the 12 teams, and then we built up the teams with the next 12 seeds and so on.
And so, at long last, over 70 competing riders come under the green flag of starter John Tute at Dublin's GPO for the informal start to the Tour of Ireland. All teams full of hope and determination as they negotiate the Dublin city traffic, but each team containing a strange mixture of nationalities. However, one can't help wondering just how successful this format will be.
The idea is well known to cyclists in that the Tour de France is based on this concept, but I think they adapt very quickly.
Well, we'll soon find out. After the informal start in the city centre, it's out to Newlands Cross for the real start at the beginning of 6 gruelling days where they'll cover over 600 miles. The first stage is a 95-mile cycle to Cashel, and there's no time for a nice leisurely start either, with the first phase of the King of the Hills just up ahead. The early pace is set by Englishman Steve Poulter, who looks impressively strong over the hill climbs. The first coming up at Woolpack, but also in the leading group is the pre-race favourite Billy Kerr and Dubliner Alan McCormack. Then as they go through the prime at Kilcullen, Philip Wilkins has forced his fellow countryman Poulter into 3rd place, with Sean McQuaid from the Irish Olympic squad maintaining his challenge in 2nd spot. By the time the leading riders reach Girton Gap, the field, experiencing awkward and difficult headwinds, is spread out completely. Steve Poulter is back in the leading position, but hot on his heels now he's got young David Gardner and the experienced Billy Kerr. And tucked in just behind them is 21-year-old Lenny Kirk, and also alongside him is Philip Wilkins, dangerously positioned just behind the leaders.
Come on, Lenny! Come on, Lenny! Up! Come on! Get up! Come on, lad, get across there now. Come on, big effort now.
And a big effort really is needed, as Alan McCormack, though still well ahead of the main body, is struggling to keep his interest alive after the early hill climbs. In fact, now seems to be gathering momentum, and there's a full 4.5 minutes time lapse between leaders and the back markers as the cyclists make their way towards Cashel. And by the finish, Poulter has dropped back, and it's a 2-man sprint to the finishing line between Gardner and Kerr. They cross the line almost together, with the young Lurgan cyclist being adjudged the winner, though on our reckoning, Kerr has just pipped Gardner. Third place goes to Philip Wilkins, Poulter comes in fourth, and Lenny Kirk is fifth. The team prize on the first day is won by Rally, with Glint Automatic and National Aluminium coming in third. But already on the evidence of the first day's racing, the course really does look a demanding one.
Well, it's a very demanding course, and the distances each day being approximately 100 miles has left it, at this time of the year, a very demanding test for the riders. Most of the riders have now had a season which started back last March, and after 6 months of very heavy racing, it's a very testing course.
The wind on the first day, that's from Dublin to Cashel, did that really impede the cyclists, do you think?
It made it extremely difficult, and right from the starting line it was very obvious. You had the bunch breaking up to small groups of 5 to 10 riders, and everybody was under pressure right through the day with the headwinds.
Is there such a thing in cycling as the wall, as we know it in the marathon running?
Yes, and in cycling we call it the knock.
The knock.
The knock. It can be caused by various reasons. Then the primary cause of it is hunger. Tend to take too little food before a race and fail to carry enough food, and it's a real wall when they hit that.
So a hearty breakfast is obviously needed as the cyclists tackle day 2, which sees them travel from Cashel to Cork.
This jersey is the same classification as the jersey that Sean Kelly won in this year's Tour de France, the points jersey.
So the green or points jersey goes to Philip Wilkins, and meanwhile Steve Poulter wins himself the red jersey for his exploits on the previous day and the King of the Hills. And the honours being done this morning by Dr. Sean McCarthy in Cashel Town Centre, and he now presents the yellow or race leader's jersey to the race leader, David Gardner.
Travel straight back to Dublin for the start of this race. He goes on from the Tour of Ireland to Brisbane, Australia to represent Northern Ireland in the Commonwealth Games.
And from Cashel heading south, a stiff 100-mile course which will also take in parts of County Waterford on a day when the riders will have to undergo a severe time trial in Cork City itself. And leading the field through Cahir is the Scot Jamie McGahan, team leader of the Valley Ice Cream team and last year's winner of Ross Talton. McGahan leads from Willie Moore and Steve Baker. Mind you, at the pace some of these people are moving, consider the difficulties involved in getting the best pictorial action possible. Indeed, more than once, our camera crew must have felt in very real danger. On the prime at Clonmel, it's Billy Kerr who's moved to the front. And after crossing the Gashouse Bridge, yet another hard climb. And what a steep climb it is on the road which leads to the golf club, with the beautiful scenic valley below. Gary Thompson of the Olympic squad is second now, pursued by another of the English contingent, Mark Bell. The next stage of the King of the Hills is at the Punch Bowl, well above the town of Clonmel, with the picturesque mountain slopes of Sliabh na Món in the distance. Then, passing through peaceful Ardfinnan, the lead takes on an intriguing dimension, with Paul Kimmage, Willie Moore and Steve Baker battling it out at the front. Ahead of them, some really tough cycling, but also some of the most scenically beautiful countryside. By the time they reach Clogheen village, Moore has replaced Kimmage as leader, but there's a mishap for third place Steve Baker. Instead of taking a sharp left turn towards the V, he goes straight on. The error costs him vital seconds. By the time they get to the V, it's David Gardner who leads, followed closely by race favourite Billy Kerr. But the strain of leadership soon takes its effect as a chasing group of 6 eclipse the pace setters, and by the next prime at Baylock, Alan McCormack has come from nowhere in a sprint for the line to edge out Martin Early and Philip Wilkins. The worst of the climb will soon be over. At Lismore, Mark Bell, moving steadily with the leading bunch, wins the next prime as McCormack drops back to third. But now the field is once again well spread out. Apart from the finishing line, the most welcome and familiar sight in cycling is the feeding station, like this one situated between Lismore and Tallow, and as we heard earlier, necessary to convert food into energy. The next of the King of the Hills on day 2 is at Hurley's Cross with the steadily improving Martin Early, whose aggression takes him into first place, followed by Billy Kerr, still in search of his first Tour of Ireland success. Alan McCormack, back from Philadelphia for the race, looks dangerous in third position, ahead of the in-form Jamie McGahan. The day's most notable feature was the number of times the lead changed hands. In Tallow, it was Mark Bell, with McCormack now finding renewed strength in his legs, holding on doggedly in third. Middleton is a little over 15 miles from the finish, and the 1-2-3 now reads Kerr, Lenny Kirk and Mark Bell, with McCormack heading a following group. But all eyes now firmly fixed on the new leader and race favourite Billy Kerr, the 37-year-old from Ballymena. Kerr is bidding to do what only one man before him has done, that's to win the Tour of Ireland and Ross Talton. Only the legendary Peter Doyle has managed that exclusive double. Can Kerr now add the Tour to his Ross success of 2 years ago? However, at the finish of day 2, it's Alan McCormack who pips him on the line.
Alan, a marvellous sprint finish into Cork. That's put you back in the reckoning again.
Yeah, I should be about third or fourth, I'd say, overall. I lost a lot of time yesterday. I got a bit of the stuff in about 25 miles to go. But today I just looked after myself and brought plenty of food and had legs near the end of the hill, near the end of the stage.
Now, how did you get back into it? Take us through today's race.
A big group of riders went away at the start, about 20 riders, and I missed that. I was at the back nursing myself along, and eventually I got up just before the V. And I got the King of the Mountains in the V, and I got away after the V. And from there, then Billy's group came up with the yellow jersey. So Billy managed to get away after Middleton, himself and Northern Ireland rider, and I got away also. And we all joined up about 5 miles to go. And then from there, myself and Billy came in.
Do you think you can catch him?
Well, he has a substantial lead now. It'd be very difficult.
Billy, as expected over the years, you're back up there at the top again.
For how long is the question?
Well, take us through yesterday's race first of all. It was very windy, the conditions.
Yeah, the conditions, like, it suited the riders are out in front yesterday because you were safer up there in front than in the bunch. There's two dangers in the bunch. And when you're up there in the front, the small group was much safer and easier. Although it was a lot harder, but it was safer.
You're a very vocal cyclist. We hear you there talking and encouraging the other cyclists as you go along. You find that settled you?
I like to see things kept going. Like, I don't like to see a group of riders when it stalls and the speed slows down, because when the speed slows, it gets dangerous then. You always get guys jumping off the front, whereas when the speed's on, it's harder to get away. You know?
What's it like to compete against the younger fellas like Alan McCormack?
It's getting harder every year.
Is it? What about that sprint finish into Cashel yesterday?
It was close. Very close.
And so to stage 3, which again sees the cyclists here in Cork City, and this time with fading light sees them taking on one of the steepest inclines in Cork City, Patrick's Hill. It's a 1 kilometre climb, a sprint which is expected to sort out the seasoned performer from the mere hopeful.
The riders began the climb at about 1 minute intervals, and the strain of effort was clear for all to see. Some literally struggled just to stay in the saddle, but most found some reserve in answer to the crowd's promptings. And it was Alan McCormack who enjoyed his second success of the day, scaling the 1 kilometre ascent in 2 minutes and 25 seconds. But then, with a couple of other brothers in the race, there's a strong family tradition in the sport.
Tell us, is there a huge difference between the standards today and the standards when you were cycling?
Well, I think there is. When I was cycling, it was all grass track racing and around the fields, all around the country, where you get better name to the people, where thousands of people used to go to track meetings and sport fields and things like that. But today now, as like the Tour de France has taken over on the Irish roads, and the bikes are better, the wheels are better, they have better, more money in their pockets, and racers are sponsored now. Like when we were racing, you had no money, you had to travel all those places yourself and all this sort of business.
Is there more incentive so for young fellas today?
Oh, there is. The glamour is, there's more glamour now in cycling, and everything is improved since the 1950s and the 30s and those years.
Day 3 begins at Cork City Hall with an unofficial start. But it's soon down to the serious business of the day, and with threatening clouds overhead, Billy Kerr's consistency over the first 2 days leaves him now with a commanding lead of 2 minutes and 26 seconds. Then at the prime before Fermoy, it's Willie Moore out in front, just in front of Brendan Madden and Mike Williams, followed closely by the rest of the chasing bunch. On this third day, the race leader Billy Kerr enjoyed another fine day's cycling until disaster almost struck about 18 miles from Ennis, when Kerr, leading a chasing group by 2 minutes and 6 seconds, takes what turns out to be a wrong turning. He's followed by Ole Redstad of Denmark and the Welshman Steve Baker. Eventually, they come in 7 minutes behind the stage winner, Steen Pedersen. But amends is made at least in part when Kerr is awarded the same time as the winner. Even this mishap can't upset the national champion, and he recovers from a poor start in the next stage to Ballinrobe to maintain a 1 minute 45-second overall lead. But his fellow Ulsterman Lenny Kirk is fast emerging as his greatest challenger, a position that remains unaltered after the 110-mile stage race from Ballinrobe to Portlaoise. And from Portlaoise, the tour winds back towards Dublin, and now with just 2 stages to go, it's Alan McCormack once again racing away from the field, and by Selbridge he's already established an impressive lead, and goes on eventually to win a 3rd major stage in the tour. McCormack in fact had a minute to spare at the finish from a group led in by Tony Murphy, riding for National Aluminium, and it's a group which also contains Gary Thompson, Philip Wilkins and Danish rider Ole Redsted.
Oh, it's hard out there. I went from the line. Right. Over the whole stage by myself. But I was after the points jersey, so I've won that. I won the King of the Mountains yesterday. I've won 3 stages.
That's not bad.
So I'm hoping to win in the afternoon, make it 4.
Great.
Nice.
Congratulations. I'm sure you're the winner by now.
That's not over yet.
Well, it's not over yet.
Not over yet. There's another stage to go yet.
What was your toughest stage on the race?
That day and a couple of days in the middle of the week there, Cork, and the day after to Galway, to Ballinrobe.
Right.
It was a hard day.
Do you feel better about the day you took it on course?
Of course I do, yeah. But there again, it's over now, like it's past. But at the time I was, yeah.
Right. And you're looking forward to the afternoon around the town?
Yeah, yeah.
And so the final chapter of this year's tour unfolds round the streets of Dublin, and appropriately enough, the starter is Ireland's man of the moment in professional ranks, Sean Kelly, 3rd in this year's World Professional Championships in Goodwood. And it's the green jersey for Alan McCormack.
The green jersey of points leader. Most consistent.
The afternoon's Kermesse takes the field on a circuit of 50 laps of Dublin city centre, with Billy Kerr, now the proud possessor once more of the yellow race leader's jersey.
Which he takes now onto this final stage, a 1 hour stage, 1 hour plus 10 laps. A very difficult stage. It's going to be a very, very hard, very fast race. Four, 3, 2, 1, and they're away.
Indeed, the afternoon turned out to be a memorable success for Lenny Kirk, who had just a second to spare over the eventual race winner, Ireland's most accomplished amateur cyclist, Billy Kerr from Ballymena, with Kirk himself holding on to second place in the final classification, and the promising David Gardner is third. In the team class, it's a marvellous success for Raleigh. Second came Collarman with Lenny Kirk, and in third place was Philip Wilkins' team Glint Automatic. Fourth were Carlsberg with Alan McCormack, and in fifth place, Billy Kerr's team, McNulty. And doing the honours on the rostrum, Des O'Sullivan, the President of the Olympic Council of Ireland, and there is the team winners, Raleigh Olympic Squad, and a large crowd present to witness the presentation of the individual prize to Billy Kerr, being congratulated by Sean Kelly and by his sponsor in McNulty. And of course, this completes a marvellous week and a marvellous career for the Ulsterman. Winner of the Sealick International in 1979, Ross Talton winner a year later, and winner of the Tour of the North and national cycling champion. Billy Kerr, now Tour of Ireland winner for 1982.